Welcome to the Expanding Your Search and Stopping for Directions podcast with Brent Bailey. And at the tech booth, Jody Cook-Bailey and Luke Cardio. We are growing our circles of connections and knowledge together with encouraging conversations and positive communications. And now, Brent Bailey.
Hey everybody, welcome to Friday. It is the last day of the week. You should be excited. Here we are, October the 16th. It is the last day of the week, and we're heading straight into the weekend. Congratulations, you did it again. You made it to another end of another week. All right, I got a great show planned for you today. I've got the host of the End of Days Update, Joe Morris. He's going to be joining us here in just a couple of minutes. Right now, though, I'm going over to the tech booth to catch up with Jody and Luke. Guys, how are we doing today? It's
when you said it's Friday, I went like this. I was like, yes, Lord.
Hallelujah. Yes.
We got a little bit of a busy day today.
It has been.
It has been, yes. We're preparing. This last week we went on for our first broadcast on the Preach the Word Network out of Atlanta.
We did.
And of course, we had our good friend April Ripley was on. And so now we're doing some stuff to further the television appearances and the programs. And so we've been in here in the studio working hard today. So it's a good thing, though.
It's been
all
good.
good.
That wasn't a complaint. It was just, it has been a...
No,
I was just explaining to the people so they don't think, that you're getting worked like a government mule or something. So anyway.
No, we're not.
So today, as
That's a good band, Government Mule.
Don't know.
Yeah.
Never heard them.
Warren Hayes from Allman Brothers.
Look at Luke pulling out the trivia on us
Look
there.
at that.
Good job. You really are into this end of the
He
week
is.
kind of thing. Should do that
He's
for
on
you
a
more
roll
often.
today.
So.
And yeah.
All right, today's guest, Joe Morris, is going to be coming out here in a minute. There's a lot of folks started asking the question in March, actually, about is this the end times?
Yeah,
when the world was
they did.
starting to shut down. There's been a lot of talk about it since then, and so we're going to bring him out here in just a few minutes and present him to you because he does an update every week about it.
Oh,
and
cool.
and so there's a lot of knowledge there. We're going to ask him some questions and allow him to encourage us because for a believer, come on now, this is not something we should be afraid of.
Absolutely.
Amen.
Amen.
Revelation says that people that read it should be blessed.
Yes, that's
Not
right.
afraid. You shouldn't be afraid when you read that section.
And
feel blessed.
so we're going to bring Joe out here in just a few moments, and we're going to get to talk to him. But before we do that, we
have a
do
little
like
fun.
to talk about things going on, in current events around the country
we do.
that are pertaining to you and your audience and our audience.
Our
and
audience.
Today is
National Breakfast for Dinner Day.
Ooh.
whoop, whoop. Let's have biscuits and gravy tonight.
Yeah,
Come
we
on,
should.
somebody.
I
Come
like
on,
the bacon and
biscuits
eggs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Come on.
And you said something about
Waffles.
spam. Some people will
I
have
love
spam.
spam.
For breakfast.
Spam
I
is
love spam.
Yes.
Yeah.
People
It's
that
legit.
hate on
I'm okay with that.
People that hate on spam have never tried spam.
That's true.
Especially if
That is
it's
true.
made right.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
In Hawaii, they make something called spam
Spam
musubi.
musubi.
It's like spam sushi.
It's
So
good.
they cook it, wrap it in rice and seaweed.
Oh, that
and
sounds awesome.
It really is good.
It's
You
delicious.
Like
It's very good.
Yeah, I
So-
like
Absolutely.
spam.
So breakfast for dinner day.
Yes.
I remember that when I was a kid. My mom used to do it, and it was a wonderful.
And leftovers,
experience.
the kids can get the leftovers out on
Yeah.
Saturday morning while they're watching cartoons,
Are you a
Awesome.
waffle person or a pancake person?
Is there? I mean, to me, they're the same. Especially if you
Yeah.
use pancake batter to make your waffles.
I don't know, man.
Oh, yeah.
Waffles
I like
get
waffles.
crispy.
Yeah.
They absorb. Oh,
Yeah,
I like waffles
ooh.
probably
I like
better
them
than
both.
pancakes.
I
I mean,
can have them both.
I like French toast.
Now I will say this:
French toast is pretty good.
blueberry Eggos were my personal favorite. So,
Okay.
Anyway.
Yeah.
As
Anyway.
a kid, I was really into toaster strudel.
Yeah, those are good.
all right.
Those are good. Today is also Department Store Day.
Now, what does that mean?
That means,
Are those still
shop
around?
Barely. That's the
hello.
thing.
Remember service
Walmart.
merchandise?
Well, Walmart, yes.
Walmart is
but
the
I think-
largest in the world.
I
I
think more
think-
like service merchandise.
I
Okay,
think
yeah.
more like Macy's and Dillard's.
Oh, okay, yeah,
and-
yeah,
and
yeah.
places like
Service
that.
merchandise has now become Amazon.
Yes.
It's
Yes,
the
it
same
has,
thing.
it has.
You
It's
just
lit-
order
yeah.
it and it shows up.
So I think, at department store days, visit your
You
local
really
department
should.
store.
Yeah, I know before COVID there was an uptick in people going back to stores because they missed
Yeah.
the social interaction.
Yes.
So, do it or else we're going to have these big, giant, gaping, vacant malls throughout
Is
America.
Sears
Oh,
still
we
a
have,
thing?
there are.
No,
still.
Sears is.
Sears, are they done? Really?
It seems like they got bought out by somebody.
They
but I
were
can't remember.
such it was such a different place to go. I feel like you could get anything at Sears when they were
You
open.
could.
Yeah, pretty much.
Absolutely could.
Yeah. Moving on, it is also National Bosses Day. So, Luke, do you have something to say to your boss?
What am I supposed to say to you guys? Oh, happy
We
National
appreciate
Bosses
you.
Day.
There you
guys.
go.
Love you guys.
All
Love you.
Yay. I want to say
You
it
guys
to-
look
I'm gonna-
very fit today.
I'm going to say it to Jody. Happy Bosses Day, honey.
Happy Bosses
Oh,
Day to
she's
you,
the
I guess.
boss.
No,
She's
I'm
the
the
boss.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, we've got a limited amount of time today,
We
and I
do.
wanted to talk about this
Yeah.
for sure. Because the face mask is obviously everywhere right now, regardless of what you think about
Oh,
it.
I have mine.
But Hormel Foods has
Oh,
released
Lord.
something called Breathable Bacon. Are you ready for this? This is a bacon scented mask. And you can get it from now until October the 28th on breathablebacon.com. And for every one of those that gets requested, Hormel is going to donate a free meal to Feeding America.
That's
Up
right.
to 10,000 meals they will donate. So I thought about that and I was like, wow, that sounds actually very interesting.
That's probably going to wind up showing up at my house.
I bet you why? Because
I
one
would-
of your kids are gonna want the
No,
bacon.
because
now.
her
No,
husband
her
wants to
husband.
hear it. So, breathablebacon.com. All right, real quick. Also, I know trick-or-treating is being outlawed in a lot of places this year.
Outlawed?
And, yeah, like you're not allowed to do it. It's canceled.
You're gonna give a 5-year-old a ticket.
Well, no,
Excuse me,
they'll
child.
probably fine the parents greatly. But anyway, there are people that are doing something about this. Lowe's is actually doing something about this
Yeah.
year.
Cool.
They're allowing people to do drive-through trick-or-treating into the Lowe's parking lot. You have to pre-register for it at their website, but you can go through. You'll receive candy and a free pumpkin for you and your family at every Lowe's across the nation. So you can go to
Yeah.
Lowe's
Real
website.
quick,
and-
it's also National Cat Day.
Moving on
Moving on.
it's also Krispy Kreme is getting involved in this too.
Yes.
If you go in and order now, every Saturday, you can go in and order a dozen donuts, and for $1, you'll get a special trick-or-treat dozen donuts as well. So it's order your regular donuts, and then you get the trick-or-treat donuts for $1. And they're all decorated like pumpkins and, Frankenstein and all kinds of things like that. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that is very cool. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, so
Both
thanks to
Lowe's
those-
and Krispy Kreme.
Yeah, and all the other national merchants that are getting involved in that. So
Yes.
anyway, that's kind of what's going on around the country. Let's take a moment, jump in with our guest as we expand our search. My guest today has spent the last 30 years traveling and ministering all across the country and the world. He and his wife, Colleen, minister in churches, Bible schools. They do conferences overseas. They do all kinds of other events. He is the host of the End of Days Update, and he does bring a lot of knowledge to the table when it comes to the end of days. And so I'm so excited to have with us on the program today. Maybe. All right, here he comes. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Joe Morris to the program. Joe, how's it going, man?
How are you? Good to be with you.
It's so good to have you on the program. I know that we haven't really been able to run into each other for a while, but I've known you and your family for a long number of years, and it's so good to finally have you on the program.
Man, great to be with you. Glad things are going so good for you in Orlando.
Yeah, and that's brings up how's things going for you? I know you travel a lot. How's it been since COVID started?
A little crazy. There was 1 month that it was kind of shut down, but then all of that got pushed into other months, and we did tons of Zoom meetings. But it's been really busy. I think I've been back on the road since April, so The churches are opening up a little more, kind of depending on where you are in the country. But I think people are excited to get back to church.
Yeah, I agree with you. I saw that you were with, I think it was Ross Roberts a week or so ago, and he posted a picture of you, and we were trying to figure out, he said, what is wrong with this picture? And I don't know that I ever figured out what, did you know what he was talking about in the picture that they put? Yeah, I didn't either. He said there was something, you and the driver both had something going on differently there. So
With Ross, anything could be going on. So he is hilarious, absolutely nuts.
Yeah. Well, anyway, Joe, we wanted to have you on because there is so much going on in the world that for especially for our time period, it has not happened before. And people are really just, I know that I started getting questions about it in March when COVID really started about the last days. And I know the answer that I'm probably going to get from you, but for the sake of our audience, I'm just going to ask, are we in the last days? Is this something that is really we're coming down the stretch?
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing that people say, well, how can we tell, when the Lord put so many verses in there to show us what it would look like, specifically flawless prophecies like Israel being reestablished as a nation, Jerusalem being won back, Hebrew language returned, Ethiopian Jews brought back, fertility in the land of Israel. There's about 50, so it's pretty flawless. I've heard people say, well, these signs all happened before. No, they've never happened before. There's never been a generation to have all these. And I think it's so kind of the Lord to put sign after sign after sign so we would have a heads up. And that's what he said. He said, hey, don't be downtrodden. When you see these things, lift up your heads. Your redemption is drawing nigh. So the whole purpose of the information is to have great strength and great joy and great hope, rather than being full of fear. So the whole purpose is he loves us so much.
Yeah. And so I know some folks are so, they find it fascinating to talk about the end of days, but then there's so much, I don't want to say ignorance, but I guess that's probably the right word, where people just don't know. And so when you say some of these things are happening for the first time, let's just take the Abraham Accords, for example. That's something that so many people were so enthralled with. Talk just a little bit about that. What was the significance behind that?
It's really remarkable that the nations that don't attack Israel in the Ezekiel 38 war are literally making peace agreements right in front of our eyes. It really differentiates between the nations that are going to attack Israel just after the rapture. It's really amazingly flawless down the line how those nations that want to kill Israel aren't making peace with them. And those are the ones mentioned in Ezekiel 38. So it is pretty weird. It kind of freaked me out, nation after nation, kind of check mark, check the box off. I'm like, wow. Because who would have ever thought United Arab Emirates, Bahrain, Qatar, and now Saudi Arabia, but see, Saudi Arabia is not mentioned attacking Israel like Iran and Syria and Russia. So it's really bizarre to watch the verses come to pass right in front of your eyes. So that's the big deal about the Abraham Accords. Yeah.
Now, I know that there have been so many other things that people have talked about. I know that there's mentions of they found a red heifer. There's now a population of those that have returned to Israel for the first time. How significant is that?
It's a big deal. Everything that starts happening just after the rapture, you're seeing the setup for it now. I mean, you had foxes on the Temple Mount, you had the ritual baths around the Temple Mount fill up with water, and then the red heifers. You had the oil of anointing that was found out where the Dead Sea Scrolls are. So you have all these little intricate things coming together for things that happen after we're gone. So that's pretty remarkable to see the things set up for after the rapture of the church, because they're going to go back to Old Testament time, 7 years of Old Covenant time. They'll have sacrifices and they'll have all those things that they need that stuff for. It is weird that they've been in position for about 30 years, kind of in the behind the scenes waiting for it. And now the Sanhedrin's pressing to have sacrifices. And you're like, wow, that happens after we're gone. So it's interesting. God told them you got 490 years, but Jesus came after 483. So he owes them 7 years of Old Covenant time. And everything that you see happening is a setup for that 7-year period.
Now, I know we kind of are not in a lot of time here to talk about this, but that anointing oil that they found at the Dead Sea Scrolls, talk a little bit about that. That's very fascinating.
Amazing. They found it out there a few years ago, and it's the exact ingredients from the book of Leviticus. And of course, God had it set where it would be preserved perfectly, where there's no humidity. And so that's what they needed. The only thing they need now is a red heifer. And I think they have 6 now that have been spotless. So They actually had a sacrifice on the edge of the Temple Mount and didn't get arrested. Last year they got arrested. This year they did not. So they're pushing for all this stuff that happens after we leave. So it is interesting to see animals in position, Jewish guys in position, Russia in position, Iran in position. So what's the church do? The church should be paying attention to hustle and see a finish line to run faster, not slower. That's for sure.
Let's talk about the prophecy about the two Benjamins as well. What's the significance of the two Benjamins, and maybe explain to our folks that don't know what that is?
It's pretty amazing. Itzhak Kaduri, a rabbi, got saved. Jesus appeared to him and he accepted him as his Messiah and said, hey, don't open this letter until a year after I've gone home to be with the Lord. So they open it a year later and they go, wow, he's accepted Jesus as his Messiah. Pretty crazy. And in those papers, they found where he prophesied just before the coming of the Messiah, Israel would be ruled by two Benjamins. And you've never seen, now you have Benjamin Gantz and Benjamin Netanyahu both jointly ruling. I mean, who would have ever thought that 50 years ago or 10 years ago? So that's pretty remarkable, yeah.
I've got chills just listening to you talk about that. That's amazing. Now, as we've started to see things happen in the rest of the world that line up with this, a lot of folks are wondering if COVID and the racial unrest, if that all is stuff that plays out in those last day prophecies as well.
Yeah, in Matthew 24, just before the rapture takes place, or the tribulation starts in verse 9, just before that, Jesus said there'd be famines, there'd be pestilence, there'd be earthquakes, and nation would rise against nation. That's ethnos. And he said they would be like a woman going into labor. He said it'd be birth pains. And in other words, when a woman goes into labor, you can't ignore it. So things would be on the earth that would be so severe that it will get your attention. He didn't say that was tribulation. He said that was just before the tribulation. So that definitely is a wake-up call for us. I mean, California had 600 earthquakes 2 weeks ago. The Ring of Fire had 13,000 a few weeks ago. So the earth's getting ready for it. Nations are getting ready for it. And then you got COVID. Who would have ever thought the whole world would be affected by a virus? And it's a wake-up call. And it's weird that Jesus said it would get your attention, but he said, don't be troubled. Don't be worried. These things are going to happen, but the end is not yet. So it's all a setup for that 7-year period. Man, if it's this weird now, I wouldn't want to be here during the tribulation.
Now, I know that we're just a few weeks away from the election time, but then our viewers that are watching on the Preach the Word Network when this is on, we're less than a week away from the election. How in the world is all of this, playing out? This election is just as important as the rest of it, isn't it? All right. Absolutely.
I mean, our president's name Trump and vice president's name Pence means the coming of the Lord. Trumpets, Feast of Trumpets is when the rapture will be. Who would have ever thought your president and vice president's name would mean the coming of the Lord? That's crazy. It's a huge deal. I mean, it is weird that it's so mirroring the days of Noah. I mean, Jesus said that's what it would look like, corruption and violence. So I hate to say, you almost have to get ready for more of that. So we just have to pray for our nation for peace and for peaceful elections and for the right person to get elected. What a crazy time to see. Seems like people yielding to darkness in a greater measure than ever before. All the more we have to be yielding to light and love and mercy and kindness. Yeah.
Joe, I know that we could sit and talk about these very topics for hours, and I know that we're just starting to really whet the appetite of everybody that's listening today. But you do an update on this and talk about these things every week on something called the End of Days Update. Tell us a little bit about that and how can people see it? Sure.
You can go to my website, josephmorris.com. And about 8 years ago, a pastor friend of mine in California said, hey, we're going to have a weekly update about end times. And this lady leaned over and said, well, he's talking about you. I said, well, you better tell me. I'm not doing an update. I thought I would do it 2 weeks. I've been doing it 8 years. So the reason being is we don't get a lot of the stuff from the Middle East here in America. So I just try to let people know what's happening around Israel. Because something happens every single week that points to the coming of the Lord. It's pretty shocking, but exciting, very exciting. So that's what that's all about.
Now, as the normal average churchgoer, somebody who knows very limited amount about these things, what's a one good piece of advice you can give them right now during all of this that would really be a source of encouragement for them and not just a source of fear?
Paul, writing about the rapture, he said, I'm writing this to you so you'll be happy and hopeful. The whole thought pattern of the coming of the Lord is for you to have great joy and great hope. It's so sad it got perverted into scariness. For the world, it's very scary, but for the church, there is no bad news. So Paul wrote that in Thessalonians so that they would be happy. I mean, your strength is tied to your joy. Isn't it amazing? Right before you get married, you wouldn't want to be bummed out. You want to be happy. So I feel sorry for the Lord that everybody's freaked out about the greatest thing ever to happen. Had a guy tell me, Joe, if you preach on the coming of the Lord, you just scare everybody's hopes up. I was like, duh, that's right. It's the hope that purifies you, even as you're pure. So the whole purpose is for people to have great joy and great strength, because there's nothing but great news for the church. So, Jesus said, let not your heart be troubled. So that's the whole purpose. Don't be troubled.
And as they're going through their normal average life, and they're still going to church, people are getting back into church. Mm-hmm. Now's the time more than ever just to jump in and serve and be committed to what the church is doing. Even though it looks like the end is coming, right now is our time to shine, though, isn't it?
Our time to shine. We should be more engaged. We should be going to church more than ever before, helping our local pastor. When you're getting married, you talk more when you're engaged, not less. So we should be more engaged to church. We don't fit it into our life. It is our life. Because this is it. I mean, you hate to freak people out, because they go, is this really it? This is really it. So you want to be running faster as you see the finish line, not slower.
All right. Joe, this is fascinating things. It's just something that I wish we had hours and hours to talk about. Our guest today is Joe Morris. He is a minister and kind of an information beacon right now, as his ministry is really just letting us know that these are the signs and this is what's happening. What's next for you? Where are you off to next, and what's the next project, and what's going on?
Next Wednesday, I head to Effingham, Illinois for a 3-day meeting, and then go to Wisconsin, Fond du Lac, Wisconsin, then come home for a few days, and then leave again for Oregon. Busy fall. But sure great to be with you, Brent. I know all this information is because the Lord loves them so much. He wants them to show them how much He loves them. So He wants to bless them.
And that's what I would say. Let's end with. I want to just jump out of the way for a second here, and just allow you to encourage everybody.
You bet, Pastor Brent. The whole purpose of all this information, amazing how there's more verses about this than anything in the Bible, is because He loves you so much. Doesn't want you frustrated, doesn't want you freaked out. He wants you happy and hopeful and comforted and exhorted and blessed. So kind of hard to run your race if you're freaked out. So all this happening should not freak us out. We should know so soon we're about to see the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. Let Jesus be the focus of your life. Press into Him, get closer to Him, and His word will strengthen you and bless you and encourage you to where you have zero fear and zero concern, because we're about to see the King face to face.
Amen. That's Joe Morris. And Joe, it really is a pleasure and an honor to have you on with us today. I appreciate you taking the time. And I would encourage everybody. I'm going to throw his information up there on the screen. If you'd like to grab the end of days update, it comes out every week. You can see it on his YouTube channel and on his website at joemorris.com. You can also follow him along on Facebook at Joseph Morris Ministries, and on Instagram at Joe Morris Ministries. So much information. I know I found myself preparing for the show watching episode after episode after episode of the End of Days update, and it is something that will be a great blessing to you. So Joe, give our love to Colleen, and have a great rest of your day. Enjoy yourself, and get out there and play some golf if you can.
I need to. Thanks, Pastor Brent. Great seeing you. Great being with you. Thank you.
Great to see you too. That's Joe Morris of Joseph Morris Ministries. And man, I don't know about you guys. I was getting cold chills the whole time. I mean, there were just things he was saying that was just like, oh my goodness, that's so cool.
Yeah.
So
amazing.
All right. Well, let's take a minute and stop for directions. I was listening to him talk, and there was so much good there that really speaks to what a believer really should be looking forward to. I know that it's sometimes when you don't have a lot of knowledge, it will cause you to be uncertain, and uncertainty leads to fear. I know that kind of sounds like a Yoda moment, but really this is what this is all about for the believer. I know that our life here on earth is really all we know right now, but our life here on earth is the drop in the bucket. And whether you pass away or we go in the rapture, the bottom line is Jesus died for us so that we could live forever. That's the whole point of the Christian message, is that we get to live forever. There's not going to be a day where we aren't living with him. Once we pass from here, this is just the beginning, and then it's eons and eons. In fact, it's eternity with him, and we'll never die. We'll never get old. We'll never have pain. We will be in the presence of God forever. And right now, even if this is the end of time here on earth and we're getting closer and closer to it, Jesus said these words in John chapter 14. He said, "Let not your heart be troubled. You believe in God, believe also in me. In my Father's house are many mansions. If it were not so, I would have told you. I go to prepare a place for you." As Joe was talking today, the only thing I could just kept feeling in my spirit was this: the mansions are almost done. The place is almost all prepared. It's almost all finished. And I don't know about you, but it makes me happy and it gets me excited to see all of the things that are coming along, all the prophecies that are being fulfilled, all the things in the news. Friends, it's close. But that doesn't mean that we should stop living our lives, and it doesn't mean that we should stop and just sit back and wait. Now is the time. Jump in there. Don't let your heart be troubled. Don't be afraid. Jump up, get to work, and do something for the kingdom. I promise if you do that, your life's going to take on a whole new meaning. Your life's going to take on a whole new purpose. And as we do get down to the end, you're going to be able to be like Paul and finish your race with joy, your course with joy. You'll keep the faith, and you'll finish strong. That's something that I look forward to hearing. I don't know about you. All right, that's going to wrap it up for the show today. For Joe Morris, my goodness, I could sit and talk to him for hours and hours and let him just keep informing us of all the things going on in the world today. For Jody and for Luke, good job, guys. Another great show. I want to encourage you, get out. Don't let your heart be troubled, nor let it be afraid. Man, there's lots of good still left and opportunities for you to make the most of. So as we get ready to turn the corner, get revved up, get out there, and let's make it happen. All right, we love you guys so much. Pray that you have a great rest of your week. Make sure you get out and vote. It is your civic duty. Get out there, take advantage of your rights, and vote. We love you guys. Have a great rest of your day. We hope you found what you were looking for as you took the time to expand your search and stop for directions. Have a great day, everybody.
Thanks for joining us today. Connect with us on @ExpandingYourSearch on Facebook and Instagram, and @ExpandingSearch on Twitter. Relive any of our episodes on YouTube. We are available wherever podcasts are found, including Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. You can also download the Direction Ministries app on iOS, Android, Apple TV, Roku, and Amazon Fire. Take some time today to expand your search and stop for directions.